So if you want to talk about travel, let's get started. Practice the conversation on screen. Hey, are you looking for your Uber driver? That's me. Jump in. Great, it's just a quick ride over the hill. Are you guys hiking there today? Well, I wouldn't actually recommend hiking all the way to the sign. It's quite anticlimactic and hot, but Runyon Canyon has some really nice trails and views. I would be really mindful of the trails you choose while you're up there. People have been known to get lost while hiking there, but as long as you pay attention, I think that you could be done in 2 hours. Oh, fancy. You must have had to schedule that in advance. Wow, that isn't easy to do. Well, we're at the observatory. Can I let you out here? Yep, take it easy. Now that you've practiced the conversation with me, I would love to teach you about the natural vocabulary phrases that you will need to know to fully understand this conversation, and then you can start to use these phrases in your daily English as well. When you want to say that someone has assumed you are the right person, you can say, "That's me." In this conversation, you said, "Are you Kayla?" I said, "That's me." This is just affirming in a very positive way that they have the correct person, or in this case, the correct Uber driver. If you want to tell someone that they should get into your car, you can say, "Jump in." When you say jump in, it means come into the car. This is slang actually to say come into the car, jump in. A lot of times you'll hear American English speakers talk in the future tense, and instead of saying where are you going, they'll say where are you headed. If you say we're headed to the mall, it means we're going to the mall. It's just a common phrase that we use instead of saying we're going to or we're driving to. Or you could say, where are you headed tomorrow? That means where are you going to go tomorrow? So again, this word to head somewhere, it's used a lot in the future tense. Another way to say a drive or a car ride is just to say a ride. This is a short ride. This means that the car ride will not take very long. If you describe something as anticlimactic, it means it's pretty boring and it's not worth doing. We mainly use this phrase to talk about movies, but you can use it for other things as well. So if you say a movie was anticlimactic, it means there was no climax in the movie. There was no big action scene or no big scene that really made the movie interesting to you. It just was very even the whole time and kind of boring. If you say that a location or going somewhere is anticlimactic, it means it won't be that exciting, and it's probably a lot of work to go there. I've actually been to Los Angeles, and I've heard that hiking up to the Hollywood sign is quite anticlimactic, and you can actually see it from far away, as you see me in this picture, posing with it in the distance. I didn't actually hike up to it. And I also read on TripAdvisor that it's very hot and it's a lot of work to hike over there. If you say that a trail or a walking trail or a hiking trail has really nice views, it means it has very nice things to look at. In Los Angeles, the hiking trails are known to have good views of the ocean or the city, and just the view in general from up in the hills is quite beautiful. If you say that something gives you trouble, it means it gives you difficulty or it gives you a tough time to do something. So if you say something is not worth the trouble, it means that it's not worth doing because it's so difficult. If you tell someone to be mindful, it means that you want them to be very aware of what they're doing. We talk about mindfulness as a way to, really be in the moment and be present. But if you tell someone, you give them a warning to be mindful, it means they really need to be aware of what's going on in order to avoid mistakes. So if they only want to be hiking for 2 hours, they need to be very mindful to not get lost. It means pay attention to the trails and the maps, and don't start hiking on a 25-mile trail that will take you many, many hours to complete. If you say that people have been known to get lost, it means it's a common occurrence. If you say, someone has been known to be late, it means they're commonly late. They're often late to work or appointments or parties. So if you say people or someone has been known to, it means it's a very common thing that happens a lot. If you say plenty of time, you'll have plenty of time to do something, it means you'll have enough time, but you also will have extra time. So if you say, I have plenty of time to get ready, it means I have more time than I actually need and I will not be in a rush. I do respond with this word fancy sometimes, especially if someone is doing something very extravagant or something that costs a lot of money. In this case, the restaurant Nobu is a restaurant in Malibu, which is located near Los Angeles. And it's known for celebrities going there. The Kardashians love to go there. So if ordinary people go there, they would need a reservation, or they would need to tell them ahead that they'll be coming on that date so they can get a table at the restaurant. In this conversation, the person actually says that they have made the reservation on short notice. So you can either make something in advance, which means you will have a lot of time before you have to eat there. Or if you say you're doing something on short notice, it means you didn't give very much notice. You did not have a lot of time before doing something. A connection, we call a person a connection if we know them and they can help us out with doing something. So in this conversation, if you have a connection at this restaurant, maybe you know someone that works there, or you know a celebrity that helped you get a special table at the restaurant. A lot of times if you're applying for a job, it doesn't matter how qualified you are if you don't have a connection. That means you need to know somebody at the company in order to get hired. In this conversation, the driver says, I'm going to let you out here. This is really common if you're in somebody's car and they're just dropping you off at a location and leaving. They'll say, let me let you out, or is it okay to let you out here? This means, is this close enough? Two very common ways to say goodbye to someone, especially in a very casual, quick, informal conversation, is to say, take it easy, and to say, have a good one, which is short for have a good day. So keep these in mind if you're ever traveling in the United States. You guys are now ready to practice the conversation. Now that you fully understand the vocabulary phrases in the conversation, go ahead and speak along so that you get your extra speaking practice for the day. Hey, are you looking for your Uber driver? That's me. Jump in. Great, it's just a quick ride over the hill. Are you guys hiking there today? Well, I wouldn't actually recommend hiking all the way to the sign. It's quite anticlimactic and hot, but Runyon Canyon has some really nice trails and views. I would be really mindful of the trails you choose while you're up there. People have been known to get lost while hiking there, but as long as you pay attention, I think that you could be done in 2 hours. Oh, fancy. You must have had to schedule that in advance. Wow, that isn't easy to do. Well, we're at the observatory. Can I let you out here? Yep, take it easy. Hey, what's going on? Not much. I was just calling to see what you were up to for the rest of the day. Great. Did you want to hang out after 4? Well, there's a free jazz concert at the park. It starts at 6. Would you want to go with me? Yep, you've got it. Do you happen to have any extra lawn chairs? Perfect. I seem to have lost mine the last time I moved. Great, this will be so exciting. Yeah, there's this new sushi place on 12th and Washington that we could try. Oh, that sounds like a plan. We should just meet there. Or do you want me to pick you up? That's no trouble at all. I'll be there just a little bit after 4. See you soon! Now that you guys have gotten some speaking practice, let me teach you some of the natural English vocabulary that you might learn from this conversation, and then we'll go ahead and practice speaking with the conversation one more time in this lesson. So this conversation starts out like a pretty natural phone conversation. Hello, hey, what's up? Not much, what's going on? This is really how most of my conversations start with my friends and my family, especially when they call me or when I call them. So a common question you might hear on the phone with an American English speaker is, I just wanted to see what you were up to for the rest of the day. Of course, this implies that they want to do something with you during the day, but they just want to know your schedules to see if you are busy and to see if you have time to either hang out or maybe do a favor for them. So typically I answer this question by saying, I don't have much going on after this time. So I give them a time that I'm available. So if you want to say that you are busy up until a certain point, you can say, I don't have much going on after, and then give the time. In this conversation, it's 4 o'clock. When you ask someone to hang out in the United States, it just means like do something casual as friends, maybe go to a movie, maybe get dinner, or maybe just go to each other's houses. In this conversation, I say, do you want to hang out? And you say, what did you have in mind? This phrase, what did you have in mind? It means what were you thinking about doing? What was in your mind that we could do? And in this conversation, this is an activity that I used to love to do, especially before I had kids. There is a jazz concert in the park, and it is in Central Park. Now in New York City, of course you might have heard of Central Park. It's featured in so many movies. It's a famous giant park. It's beautiful. I've been there one time in my life and I just could not believe how big of a park it was in the middle of the city. Now in smaller cities across the United States, usually the city builds one main park and we call that Central Park. We don't say the Central Park. We just call it Central Park. So do you want to go to Central Park? In this conversation, to confirm that Central Park is the correct park, I say, you've got it. And of course, Americans don't always say yes or yeah. We say, yep, you got it. This just confirms that that's the correct park that we're talking about in this conversation. Now, sometimes American English speakers, we like to say things really politely. We don't like to be super direct. So we'll add this phrase, do you happen to have? Do you happen to have any extra lawn chairs? So this just means that I'm not completely dependent on you having the extra lawn chairs, but if you happen to have some, if you have any in your garage, then it would be very convenient because we will need chairs to go to the concert. Now, this is a lot to be said by just adding in this phrase, but we often do it in English. So do you happen to have any extra? Insert the noun there. I notice that English learners get a little bit confused about the word seem, the verb to seem. So this verb, it basically, if you add it to a phrase, you say it seems like, you are saying that you think, that it looks like to you. So it's kind of an opinion word. So in this conversation, I say that it seems like I lost them the last time I moved. I lost the lawn chairs, of course. It means that I don't actually really know how I lost them or who took them or where they went, but it seems like I lost them because I moved and now they're gone. So I'm just assuming it's what I believe happened to the lawn chairs. American English speakers won't always say, do you want to go to a restaurant or do you want to go share a meal? Sometimes we use the slang phrase, do you want to grab a bite or do you want to grab a bite to eat? I personally say, do you want to grab a bite to eat all of the time, especially if it's just a really fast, casual type of meal. Like we won't be sitting down for hours and hours. It's usually more casual or a less expensive restaurant if I say, do you want to grab a bite to eat? And then another word that you need to know in this conversation is beforehand. So you can use this word if you're talking about doing something before or previous to another activity. Do you want to grab a bite to eat beforehand? In this conversation, we've already made plans to go to the concert, so we're going to do something beforehand as well. We do say beforehand in English, but there is no such thing as afterhand. We say afterwards. If you want to say that you have heard good reviews about something, you can say, I've heard good things. This just means I've heard people say nice comments or have good reviews about something, and in this conversation, we're talking about a kebab restaurant, which I love kebab as well. A very polite way to ask someone to do something for you is to say, would you mind? This means, would it bother you or inconvenience you? Would you mind picking me up? And it's funny in this conversation because, of course, I have offered to pick you up. I said, would you like to meet there or would you like me to pick you up? And you say, would you mind picking me up? So this is just being extra polite in this conversation. Another polite way to respond to this is to say it's no trouble at all. This is the exact same as saying it's no hassle or it's no problem. It's no trouble at all. Finally, of course, if you've made plans on the phone or you're just very happy to talk to someone, you can always say at the end of the conversation, thanks for calling. It's very polite. And a completely acceptable way to say goodbye on the phone, especially if you have just made plans, is to say, see you soon. This could be, I'll see you in a few minutes, or I'll see you in a few hours, or I'll see you in a day or two. I'll see you soon. Now that you guys have studied the natural phrases from this English conversation, I think it's important for you to gain more speaking practice and speak with me again in today's conversation. Comment your favorite phrase from the conversation below, and I'll make sure to comment back on YouTube here, and I'm really excited to see you guys practice this conversation. All right, let's move on. Get ready to speak. Hey, what's going on? Not much. I was just calling to see what you were up to for the rest of the day. Great. Did you want to hang out after 4? Well, there's a free jazz concert at the park. It starts at 6. Would you want to go with me? Yep, you've got it. Do you happen to have any extra lawn chairs? Perfect. I seem to have lost mine the last time I moved. Great, this will be so exciting. Yeah, there's this new sushi place on 12th and Washington that we could try. Oh, that sounds like a plan. We should just meet there. Or do you want me to pick you up? That's no trouble at all. I'll be there just a little bit after 4. See you soon. Let's imagine we're going to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or just some cute little local coffee shop here in the United States. Whatever your favorite is. I think my favorite is probably Dunkin' Donuts. I'm going to give you a chance to practice speaking today, and I'm not going to speak just like an English teacher, very clear and slow. I'm going to speak like I'm actually your friend, your native English speaker friend. Let me explain our fake coffee conversation first, and then I'll give you a chance to repeat after me. And remember, I'm going to talk quickly. The goal is to speak English quicker in today's lesson. So we're going to practice some natural accent reductions, and we're also going to practice some natural English vocabulary that will help you say what you want to say, but quicker or faster. So the first phrase that we're going to talk about today is, instead of saying, "Do you want to get coffee?" Very slow, very long phrase. We're just going to say, "Want to grab coffee?" Want to grab coffee? So instead of saying to get or go get, we can just say, "Do you want to grab it?" Sometimes we talk about, do you want to grab lunch? Do you want to grab dinner? Let me just go grab that real quick. It's just a quicker way to say go get, and it sounds more natural as well to native English speakers. And then a very common English reduction, instead of saying do you want to, we're just gonna say wanna. Wanna grab coffee. All right, let's get a little further in our fake English conversation here. The next thing that you want to say is, "I'll drive. I have got a new car." Very exciting, new car. Let's say this in a quicker way. Let's just say, "I'll drive, I got a new car." So instead of just saying I have got, we're going to say I gotta. I'll drive, I got a new car. So in this conversation, you're very excited about that new imaginary car you just got. Maybe you're driving a brand new Jeep, maybe you're a Tesla person, or maybe you just got a fancy new sports car. Let me know in the comments what your imaginary car is in this conversation. So another phrase that I want to talk about is, instead of saying we can ride in my car, you can just tell someone in English, get in. If it's your friend and you're having an informal conversation, a good way to invite someone into your car is just to say, hey, get in. The next phrase in the conversation will just be get in. So remember, this is a very informal conversation with your friend getting coffee, and you're gonna ask for their opinion in today's conversation. Instead of saying, what do you think about my new car? We're going to say, what do you think about my new ride? So instead of saying, what do you think? We're gonna say, what do you think? And then instead of saying about my new car, we're going to say new ride. Saying the word ride instead of car is just slang. So you can say my ride, or if you want to be really, really hip, you can say my whip. I've heard people call their cars their whip in the United States. It's a very young slang type phrase. Now, when you get to the coffee shop, maybe you're like me, maybe you like to sit in your car and drink coffee, so you go through the drive-thru. Maybe you imagine going in and sitting down with your friend in that cozy little coffee shop. We are going to talk about our order. So I love an iced drink, so I'm going to pretend to order an iced latte. So if you're speaking in long form English, you'll say, I'll have an iced latte, please. Let's shorten that up a little bit and make it sound really natural. Let's say, let me get an iced latte, please. We're gonna leave in please because manners are very important. But instead of saying I'll have, a very common way to order at a very casual, informal restaurant is just to say, let me get. Instead of saying I'll have, we say, let me get a nice latte, please. Okay, now I'm going to tell you to order a drink and that I'll pay for it because I'm just feeling in a good mood today and I want to treat my friend to some coffee. So instead of saying order a drink and I'll pay for it, a good natural way to tell your friend this is say, get whatever you want, it's on me. So it's on me means I'm paying. I've taught the phrase before to say it's on the house. That means the restaurant is paying. Oftentimes, if you're drinking or eating at a restaurant and they kind of mess up your order or give you bad service, their way of apologizing could be to say, "It's on the house." That means the restaurant will pay for your food. It's free. But if you want to pay for someone else's food, a natural way to say it is, "It's on me." All right, now is the repeat after me portion of our lesson. This is the most important part because you are going to be speaking quickly and you're going to use those natural phrases that we just learned. So I want to give you some time to repeat each phrase that I say. I'm just going to say each phrase one time today. I'll make sure that there's a marker on this portion of the YouTube video so you can go back and practice these phrases as many times as you want, and I encourage it as well. Let's go. Want to grab coffee? I'll drive. I've got a new car. Get in. What do you think about my new ride? Let me get a nice latte, please. Get whatever you want. It's on me. I've got a few things to pick up at the store. Do you want to come with me? If you want to say that you're going to buy some things at a store, you can say you are going to pick up some things. Or for instance, you could say, "I'm going to pick up some bread and some milk." We use the phrasal verb pick up to often mean to buy. Sure, I've been meaning to grab some bread, milk, and a few other staples. If you want to say that you have been intending to do something or you've been thinking about it, you can say, "I've been meaning to." I've been meaning to buy some groceries. That means I've been thinking about it and I've been trying to do it, but it just hasn't happened yet. Perfect, I'm going to grab a cart. Another way that we can say we're going to buy things, especially if we're going to go into the store very quickly to get them, is we say we are going to go grab a few things. So pick up and grab can both mean to buy in English. A really important word in English to mean basic items is staples. So the staples in your kitchen might be bread, milk, eggs, sugar, flour. The staples are just the basic things that you need to make other food. An example of something that would not be a staple, in my house at least, would be soda or lemonade. Sugary drinks like that are not staples. In the United States, a shopping cart is what I call it, has a few other names. Some people even call it a buggy, but I think the most common word for it is a cart or a shopping cart. I'll just get a basket. The alternative to grabbing a shopping cart at the store is grabbing a basket. You only need a few things in the store, then you'll grab a basket just to carry them with. Smart. Then you won't make any impulse buys. Most people, including myself, sometimes have trouble resisting, things that are fun to buy in a store. So we call these types of things that we purchase impulse buys. For instance, if you go to the cash register in a gas station, you'll often see some gum and some candy, and you'll say, "Oh, that looks good, I'll grab that real quick." So you didn't really think about buying that, you just impulsively grabbed it and purchased it. So this is what we call an impulse buy. You've got it. If you want to say that the person you're speaking with understands what you're saying, you can say, "You've got it." So in this conversation, we talk about not making impulse buys, and you say, "You've got it." You understand what I'm trying not to do, make impulse buys. If you want to say that you understand something, you can always tell someone, "I've got it." This means I've got it in my brain. I understand the concept. Speaking of, these are cute. I might have to get these. So in this conversation, we're talking about impulse buys, and then I say, "Speaking of." This means speaking of impulse buys, look at these. Don't you already have decorations like that? You can never have too many decorations. If someone is criticizing you for having a lot of something, for instance, if you have a big rock collection or if you have a big collection of shoes or purses, and someone's criticizing you for something about it, you can say, "You can never have too many rocks." books, or you can never have too many shoes, or you can never have too many purses. This just means that you like the things so much, you don't really care if anyone criticizes you for having lots of them. Well, it does make your house look very festive. Exactly. If we call something festive, it means it's all about a holiday or a time of year. In the United States, for Halloween, many people celebrate the holiday here, so they'll have candy everywhere and pumpkins, and everyone will dress up. It's very festive, and people even love to decorate their houses for the whole month of October. They just love to be festive. I've got all of the stuff that I need. Are you ready to get out of here? Yeah, let's do self-checkout. Sounds good. In the United States, it's becoming more and more popular to go to a self-checkout. So this is when you scan your own items using the self-checkout machine, and you pay for it using your credit card, and you don't even have to speak to an employee to buy the things in the store. Okay, I didn't do too much damage. Did you get your receipt? Sometimes they check them on the way out. A common joke that we make in the United States when we spend too much money is to say we did some damage. So if you want to say that you did not spend too much money, you can say, I didn't do too much damage. Another joke that is kind of considered a dad joke, it's kind of a bad joke, kind of cheesy, is to say, at a restaurant when the waitress brings you the bill or brings you the check, you say, what's the damage? This means, how much money did we spend? Whoops, I forgot it. I'm such a scatterbrain. If you want to say that you are frequently forgetting something, or you're frequently forgetting a lot of different things, you can say you are a scatterbrain. I find when I'm with my kids and I'm trying to hold their toys and I'm trying to remember my grocery list, I feel like a total scatterbrain in the grocery store. Maybe you can relate if you're a parent. Don't be so hard on yourself. If you want to tell someone that they should not feel so negative about themselves, you can say, don't be so hard on yourself. I find that my English students are really hard on themselves. They might have a really nice accent in English. I can totally understand them. And they say, my English is so bad. You shouldn't be so hard on yourself. I'm really hungry. Do you want to stop at McDonald's on the way home? No way. We just bought all of this food. We have to be responsible. Okay. Well, maybe we deserve a treat. I knew you would cave. And maybe you can relate to this part of the conversation. You've gone grocery shopping, you've made a list, you've got all your food items, you plan on being really healthy, but you're just so hungry on the way home from the grocery store that you just want to grab some fast food like McDonald's, even though you have all this healthy food. And in this conversation, we say, no, let's be responsible. Let's not get McDonald's, but we actually cave in. This phrase, to cave in, it's like give in. It means you said you weren't going to do something, but you've been persuaded, and now you're going to do it, or you're going to let it happen. Now that you guys know all the natural phrases in this English conversation, let's move on to your speaking practice. You'll see the words on screen that we've already practiced listening to, and I want you to say them with the same tone and expression that I had when we listened to the conversation. And feel free to go back and practice this portion of the lesson as many times as you find helpful, because I know some of my students feel a little embarrassed speaking in the mirror or just trying to repeat when they're listening to a video, but this speaking practice is a very low-stress way of really improving your English expressions and your English conversations. So let's get started with the practice. Let's start by looking at this beautiful picture of a laptop. So a laptop, of course, is the type of computer that you can take on the go. You can work at a coffee shop with your laptop. And this particular laptop is called a MacBook. I personally have a MacBook, but some people don't like MacBooks. MacBooks are the type of laptops that the company Apple makes, or Macintosh. The English word for it is the webcam. So most computers have a built-in webcam. That means it's connected to the computer. Whenever you say built in, it means it's inside of the computer, so you don't have to externally plug it in. We use that word externally when you have to add something to your computer. When you use a laptop, you use the touchpad to move the mouse, or the cursor as we sometimes call it when we're typing on the computer. This, of course, is called the keyboard. The keyboard is where you can type your words on the computer. One important key on the keyboard is the space, or also known as the space bar. So whenever you make a space in between words, you hit the space bar. The next setup that we'll look at, so we call, the way that your computer is on your desk a setup. If you have different accessories like microphones and webcams and things like that connected to your computer, all of it is called the setup. Right now, gaming online and streaming your games is very popular. Let me know in the comments if you are a gamer and you stream online, or if you watch Twitch or YouTube or whatever. But these gamer setups have a lot of different things connected to the computer. Let's look at some of the vocabulary words that will be useful for this setup. First, we're not looking at a MacBook anymore. We're not looking at an Apple computer, so we often call these types of computers that are Microsoft or other brands a PC. And PC just stands for personal computer. In English, if you want to just say that you don't have an Apple computer, you call it a PC. This particular PC is not a laptop, it's a desktop. A desktop computer is one that sits on top of your desk. You cannot take it to go like a laptop. So it's just a different model name of computer in English. I'm wondering how many of these words are new to you. Do you use these words in your first language, or do you only use them when you're speaking English? Let me know in the comments as well. I'm really curious. I was talking about external accessories for your computer, and here is the webcam. On this desktop computer, they had to connect a webcam. So maybe they're on Skype or they're on Zoom calls and they're using that webcam, or they're just streaming online using that webcam. So cameras that are built specifically to be used online are called webcams, and a cam is short for camera, but we don't often use that word to abbreviate camera. Now, the part that's like the TV, the screen for your computer, the English word for it is a monitor. Monitor. You can also use this word as a verb. You can monitor someone. This means that you're watching what they're doing. This type of screen is called a monitor. And it's the type of screen that we use to connect to computers. Now, if you have two monitors on your computer, connected to your computer, you can say that you have dual monitors. And I've even seen 4 or 5 monitor setups online. They're crazy. But dual monitors are really common for gamers or for people who are working in finance and need to see lots of different spreadsheets on their dual monitors. Next, of course, you need to know these words. You have the mouse. This is a mouse. I have a mouse that is connected by Bluetooth, but not a cord. And sometimes we need a mouse pad so that our mouse slides around really nice. So you have the mouse, which is this device, and the mouse pad that it sits on top of. One important thing that's really important for these setups, these big computer setups, especially if you're working from home, is to have an Ethernet cord. An Ethernet cord is the name for the cord that plugs directly into the internet, so you're not working on Wi-Fi. It can often be quicker for your internet to work on an Ethernet cord. This next set of vocabulary words will be especially useful if you have an iPhone, but they definitely are useful for other phones as well, and just to know in general. So we're looking at an iPhone screen. If you have an iPhone screen, you'll notice that it shows usually what type of network you have. When we talk about what network you have, we're usually talking about what cellular network you're on. So in the United States, some of the most popular ones are AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Cricket. There's other ones as well. On this phone, it says T-Mobile. That's the network, or that's the cellular service that they have. When you are at home, you usually have an internet provider, and there's tons of internet providers in the United States. So that's what we're talking about when we use these words. Next, you always want to know your battery percentage on the phone. So what amount of battery you have left is called the battery percentage. When we talk about how our phone or our device's battery can last, we say our battery life. So usually when you have a device like a tablet, a computer, or a cell phone for a long time, the battery life gets poor. Battery life will not be as good the longer you have a device. So the battery will not last as long. When we talk about batteries with phones, in English at least, we talk about it as if it were a person. It's either dead or alive. Our phones also can connect to Wi-Fi, as well as our computers and our tablets and our televisions. And Wi-Fi is the most popular way that usually you connect to internet. But as I said before, if you want to wire in using a cord, using an Ethernet cord, usually the connection is faster to the internet. So usually you're on Wi-Fi if you're on your phone, and if you're on your computer, you might wire in and use an Ethernet cord. This is the Bluetooth. Don't ask me why it's called the Bluetooth. I've always thought that that's a really strange term, but when you connect to something without a cord, you can use the Bluetooth technology to do it. And that symbol on the iPhone, the word for it is Bluetooth. The most popular way that I use Bluetooth is to connect to my headphones. Right here. If you have AirPods, they are Bluetooth headphones and they connect using Bluetooth. That's how we say it in English. On your phone, usually you have a night mode. Sometimes in English, we call this do not disturb. I think that this term comes from when you stay in a hotel. There used to be a sign that you can put on the door handle that says do not disturb. So in the morning, housekeeping knows that you are sleeping in and they are not to disturb you. We use this phrase for other things as well. You can say do not disturb me right now while I'm working. Or you can turn your phone on do not disturb mode, which means that calls and text messages will not give you any sort of notifications while you're working or sleeping. We often refer to how bright our phone is. You can adjust the brightness setting. And I personally don't like my phone super bright, so I usually have this turned down pretty far. The opposite of having a bright phone is to have a dim phone. So if you want to turn down the brightness, you could tell someone to dim the phone or dim the brightness. You can also use this word for just any sort of light. If you want it to be turned down or less bright, you can say, can you please dim the lights? All of these icons and symbols represent applications, but in English, we usually just say apps. I have a lot of apps on my phone. I use the YouTube app on my phone. I have the Instagram app on my phone as well. So instead of saying application, we almost always say app in English. I've put together some really great examples to help you learn how to use technology vocabulary in an English conversation. So make sure to use this video to your advantage and practice saying these sentences after I say them. So you can use this as an opportunity to practice your American English accent, or you can just use this as an opportunity to practice speaking out loud in general. Don't worry about your accent if it's not perfect, if it doesn't sound like mine. But if you are working towards sounding more American and that's your goal, then definitely repeat after me and try to mirror the way that I sound. Let's get started with the first sentence. I have a nice dual monitor set up for my gaming. I have a nice dual monitor set up for my gaming. My Wi-Fi is working so slow, I'm going to wire in. My Wi-Fi is working so slow, I'm going to wire in. Good practice so far, let's keep going. I brought my MacBook so that I can work on my essay that is due soon. I brought my MacBook so that I can work on my essay that is due soon. I prefer Macs over PCs. My MacBook is so simple to use. I prefer Macs over PCs. My MacBook is so simple to use. Do you get cell service here? Do you get cell service here? I turn my phone on Do Not Disturb every night. I turn my phone on Do Not Disturb every night. Could you turn the brightness down on the screen? Could you turn the brightness down on the screen? My new webcam streams in 4K. My new webcam streams in 4K. I need to get a new phone. Mine is so out of date. I need to get a new phone. Mine is so out of date. I got a brand new tablet to watch Netflix on. I got a brand new tablet to watch Netflix on. I need to get a new charging cord for my phone. I need to get a new charging cord for my phone. Ugh, I tried to text my boss to tell them that I was late, but my battery died. Ugh, I tried to text my boss to tell them that I was late, but my battery died. How do you listen to your music, with Bluetooth headphones or wired? How do you listen to your music, with Bluetooth headphones or wired? Native speakers of any language tend to blend their words together, and they tend to have reductions and all sorts of different sounds that you don't learn when you're first learning English in the classroom. So keep watching this video if you want to sound like a fluent English speaker. So the phrase, hello, what are you doing right now? This is a really formal way to ask this question, and also funny enough, even though hello is probably one of the first English words that you learn, it's pretty formal and I don't say hello to someone unless I don't know them, so it's a bit more formal. So instead of this phrase, I'll just say, hey, what are you up to? Hey, what are you up to? So let's practice that phrase. Repeat after me. Hey, what are you up to? Good practice. And the most common way to respond to this question is not much. Say it with me, not much. Great practice. We're ready to move on to the next phrase. So instead of saying, what is the weather like outside? Native English speakers might just say, what's the weather like out there? So instead of saying outside, they'll say out there. Or they might say, what's the forecast? The forecast is the scientific formal word for what's the weather report. So instead of saying like, what's the weather like? We'll say, what's the forecast? To try to figure out what the weather outside is like on that day. So let's repeat after these two phrases. What's the weather like out there? Good. What's the forecast? Amazing. Let's move on. So if you are in the United States, you need to know that most speakers here will say bathroom instead of restroom. If you're in a formal situation at work or at school, you can say restroom. It's completely acceptable, but it's just more common to say bathroom here. So instead of saying, where is the restroom located, we would just say, where's the bathroom? Repeat after that phrase, where's the bathroom? Good, and notice I didn't say where is the bathroom. It just changes to where's the bathroom. Another way that English speakers will say this, especially if they're at a restaurant or another public location and it's very casual, is they'll say, do you have a bathroom? Do you have a bathroom? Repeat after me. Do you have a bathroom? Excellent. If you need to interrupt someone and they seem kind of busy, instead of just saying, may I please talk to you, English speakers will say, can I talk to you for a sec? A sec, of course, is the word second, but just shortened, and it's really common in the United States to say sec for second. And of course, it just means a short amount of time. Another alternative phrase to this one is, can I steal you for a second? Or can I steal you for a sec? This means, can you just come with me to talk for a moment? And finally, if you want to just really politely interrupt someone, we might just say, do you have a sec? This means, do you have a moment of time to speak with me? So repeat after me. Let's try out these three phrases. Can I talk to you for a sec? Do you have a sec? Can I steal you for a sec? Great practice, let's keep moving on. I noticed that when I speak to call center representatives, so these are people on the phone that help you, with different technology or different customer service issues that are foreign, they live in a different country, they tend to speak really formally and they tend to ask, what is the problem? Instead of saying this, I noticed that native English speakers will say, what seems to be the issue? Or what seems to be the problem? This phrase, seems to be, really can confuse non-native English speakers. It's just something that we throw in to say, like, what do you think is the problem? And instead of just saying the problem or the issue, sometimes English speakers will say, what's going on? This is a really casual phrase to say, like, what is wrong or what is the problem? So let's practice all three of these phrases. What seems to be the problem? What seems to be the issue? What's going on? Excellent. I'm sure you're sounding very fluent and I'm sure your English is starting to sound quicker. Let's move on to our next native phrase. Now, a fun fact about me, Kayla, as your English teacher, is my favorite sport to watch is the UFC. That is like mixed martial arts fighting. And so many fighters are international, so they're from different countries besides the United States. There's a ton of great Brazilian fighters, and when they get interviewed after a big fight, I always hear them say, "It was good, it was good, it was good, it was good." Oh my goodness, they need to just replace the word good with something different to make their speech sound a little varied, and this would totally help them sound more natural in their English. And I understand that most of them have just learned English, so of course we're all very understanding of that. But I want to teach you this trick today. Do not repeat the word good when you're being asked questions over and over again, even if you're trying to sound positive. Native English speakers will say phrases like, "It was awesome," or just "awesome." Or they'll even just say, "It was great." This just helps switch up the English, and you won't be using the same word over and over again. So practice with me. It was awesome. It was great. Your English speaking is awesome and great. Let's move on to our last natural phrase. So instead of just saying, "Let's meet each other," English speakers will often say, "Let's hang out," if this is very casual meeting between two friends, of course. If this is more formal, the word meeting is very appropriate for the situation. Sometimes, even instead of saying just "let's hang out," English speakers in the United States will say, "Hey, let's hang. Let's hang on Tuesday." And this just means let's spend some casual time together as friends. So an alternative phrase to this one is, "We totally have to hang out again." And English speakers, if you watch American television, you'll hear them say totally a lot. We love to add it to our English phrases just to be enthusiastic and be very positive in an English sentence. So we totally have to hang out again. Try out that phrase. We totally have to hang out again. And the most common way you could respond to this, to agree, is just to say, "Definitely." Excellent. Listen to the conversation and then we'll practice the vocabulary and you'll have a chance to speak like you are really speaking with a native English speaker with the video today. Let's get started.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'll be the leasing agent today. Tell me what you are on the hunt for, size-wise.
I'm just looking for a nice one-bedroom apartment. My budget is about $1,100 a month, give or take.
We actually just had a one-bedroom that came available about a week ago. We need to do some renovations, but it will be ready to be rented at the end of the month. Would that work out for your timeline?
Yeah, that should work. What's the rent? And what's the pet policy in your buildings?
The rent for that unit is $1,250, but that includes a washer and dryer in the unit, and we pay for the utilities.
That is a little bit more than my budget, but I think that should work out since the utilities are covered.
Great. I'll just need some of your financial information when we do the application to get you approved.
Okay, am I able to see the unit before I apply?
Yes, you can see it, but there will be some updates that still need to be done.
Perfect. Could you tell me more about the unit?
This is actually considered one of our luxury units. I think you're getting a great deal. There are granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, and 2 walk-in closets. The kitchen also includes a dishwasher and garbage disposal.
Wow, this sounds great. I'm definitely going to apply today. How do I fill out the application?
You will need to go to the website and fill out the information. Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'll be the leasing agent today. Tell me what you are on the hunt for, size-wise. We actually just had a one-bedroom that came available about a week ago. We need to do some renovations, but it will be ready to be rented at the end of the month. Would that work out for your timeline? The rent for that unit is $12.50, but that includes a washer and dryer in the unit, and we pay for the utilities. Great. I'll just need some of your financial information when we do the application to get you approved. Yes, you can see it, but there will be some updates that still need to be done. This is actually considered one of our luxury units. I think you're getting a great deal. There are granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, and 2 walk-in closets. The kitchen also includes a dishwasher and garbage disposal. You will need to go to the website and fill out the information.
Now that you've heard the entire English conversation, I am going to be your English teacher and teach you the vocabulary necessary to really understand this conversation, a vocabulary that you can use in different situations, such as renting an apartment. In this conversation, there are 2 people. There is the person who is renting the apartment. So we call this person's job a leasing agent. A lease is a contract that you sign in order to rent a house or rent an apartment. So the leasing agent actually asks in this conversation, what are you on the hunt for? If you are on the hunt for something, you can talk about this as a hunter, someone who goes to get animals for food. But you could also just be talking about searching for something. Often if we're in a store and we're looking for something very particular, maybe we're looking for a shirt in a certain color, we can say, I am on the hunt for a blue shirt. Or if you are on the hunt for a certain apartment, you have some details that you want in the apartment. In this conversation, we also use the phrase size-wise. We use this word wise with adjectives when we're saying in respect to. So a common way that this is used is you can say, what's it like weather-wise today? This means, what is it like in respect to the weather? You want the person to know that you're asking about the weather. And you can say, weather-wise, it's pretty sunny and hot today. Or weather-wise, it's cold, but it's going to be a good day. In this conversation, we said, we're looking for a certain apartment size-wise. So in respect to the size. And in apartments in the United States, we usually classify them as 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, possibly more. And then when you have an apartment that's just a big room where everything is together, we call that a studio apartment. Sometimes when it comes to the size of an apartment, you might ask for a certain number of bedrooms and a certain number of bathrooms, especially if you have a roommate. You might want 2 bathrooms instead of just 1. So you'll be practicing this conversation at the end of the lesson, so keep watching for that practice. But you will say that you are looking to pay $1,100 or $1,100 using the phrase give or take. When you say give or take, it means you're kind of estimating, or you have a little room to take away and a little room to give. Again, going back to the weather, sometimes we say it's about 50 degrees give or take outside. And that would be 50 degrees Fahrenheit, of course. In this conversation, if you say $1,100 give or take, it means that you could pay a little bit more, maybe $50 to $100 more, or you could pay a little bit less. Of course, you would want to pay less. So use this phrase give or take when you're just giving a rough number. It's not exact. It can be more or less. The next phrase that the leasing agent uses in this conversation is, we just had an apartment come available. We use this kind of phrasal verb phrase, come available, when it comes to things being available. Instead of saying become available, we just shorten it to it comes available. This phrase could also be used when a book or a movie is coming out. It will come available on a certain date. That means you can start watching it or reading it on that date. When we're talking about houses or apartments, we say it comes available in 2 weeks. That means people might be living in it, or it might be being repaired at this time, but in 2 weeks, it will be available to live in. The word renovations refers to improvements that are made on a house or an apartment. So if you make some renovations to your kitchen, you might get a new refrigerator, you might get new floors, you might paint the walls, things like this that would repair damages to the home or just make the home nicer. Sometimes we shorten the word renovations to reno. I had to get a house that had a lot of reno work. That means renovations work. And then this phrase, would that work out for your timeline? This question is really natural way to ask, does that work kind of for your schedule or for the time that you need an apartment? So imagine that the person in this conversation needs an apartment before the end of the month. They will literally have nowhere to live. They could say, no, that does not work out for my timeline. Your timeline is just the time that you need something or the time that you can do something. In this conversation, it does work out for the person's timeline. That means they can wait until the end of the month to live in this apartment. A common question you might ask about an apartment is, what is the pet policy? You could also ask questions like, what is your smoking policy? Or what is your parking policy? This just means, what are the rules and regulations in respect to these things? Pets, smoking, parking. Oftentimes in the United States, you have to pay an extra amount of money each month to have a pet in your apartment because of the damage that they might cause. In this apartment, in our pretend conversation, there is a washer and dryer in unit. We use this phrase in unit to mean that it's inside of the apartment. Oftentimes when you live in an apartment, you might have to share laundry or you might have to share other spaces, so those would be not in unit. It is incredibly convenient to have a washer and dryer in unit. We also just tend to call apartments units when we're speaking formally, especially in a conversation like this with a leasing agent. Utilities in this conversation refers to things like the gas, the electric, and the water for the apartment. In this conversation, we said the utilities are covered. This means the price or the money that is used to pay for utilities is paid for by the company or the person that owns the apartment rather than the person that is renting. So if you were in this conversation, you would say, that's great, I don't have to pay for it, it's included in my rent. And this, of course, can just be convenient because you know exactly the amount that you have to pay each month. There'll be no surprises when it comes to electricity or gas prices in your apartment. We can also use this phrase covered when we're talking about the price or the amount of money that we have to pay, and we can pay that for someone. So if you're at dinner or at lunch with someone and you want to pay for the food, you can say, I've got it covered. This means I will pay for it. Don't worry about it. This is a really natural way to say that you are paying for the food. The last word that I really want to teach to you today is luxury. If something is a luxury, it means it's not essential, it's not a need like shelter, food, water. It's something that's really extra. So if you have a luxury apartment, it means you have really nice things that come with the apartment or that are built into the apartment. A luxury apartment might have stainless steel appliances. These are considered nicer than regular old white appliances or black appliances for some reason. And granite countertops, so countertops that are made of this sort of rock, are considered a luxury in the United States to have in your apartment. It's also really important to know if your apartment has a dishwasher and garbage disposal. Those are really nice luxuries to have. And if you get those in your apartment, you are getting a great deal. Okay, friends, now it's your turn to practice the conversation. You will hear the voice of the leasing agent, and then you will see what you are supposed to say on screen. Make sure to read it. You'll have enough time, and you can follow the conversation as if you were actually speaking with an English speaker. Good luck with this conversation.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'll be the leasing agent today. Tell me what you are on the hunt for, size-wise. We actually just had a one-bedroom that came available about a week ago. We need to do some renovations, but it will be ready to be rented at the end of the month. Would that work out for your timeline? The rent for that unit is $12.50, but that includes a washer and dryer in the unit, and we pay for the utilities. Great. I'll just need some of your financial information when we do the application to get you approved. Yes, you can see it, but there will be some updates that still need to be done. This is actually considered one of our luxury units. I think you're getting a great deal. There are granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, and 2 walk-in closets. The kitchen also includes a dishwasher and garbage disposal. You will need to go to the website and fill out the information.